My dad is Dr. Scott Shamblatt from Shamblatt Family Dentistry. A lot of people are afraid of the dentist, but you don't have to be. My dad makes going to the dentist comfortable and even fun. He won't be mad if you haven't seen a dentist in a long time. He just wants to take care of you and your teeth. If you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shamblatt Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblattfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies today with a high near 51. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 32. And Wednesday, 3 to 6 inches of snow with a high near 38. AM 950 is celebrating 15 years of Matt McNeil on the airwaves, and you're invited. Join us Sunday, March 30th from 2 to 5 p.m. at Crooner Supper Club for an elegant afternoon featuring dinner, video tributes, and Nancy Nelson interviewing Matt McNeil on stage. Get your tickets at am950radio.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and streaming live right now on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TheGailey Show. This is The Gailey Show. I am your host, John Parker. Joining me in studio, our executive producer, Jim Pounds.
Hey, all.
And in the control room today, Patrick Lilia.
Good afternoon.
Patrick, did you just say we're getting 6 inches of snow?
3 to 5, I think was what I saw.
Okay. Well, I was about to be depressed, but I'm not depressed because of our guest today. We are very lucky and grateful that Jake Wittich, the managing editor of the Windy City Times, will be joining us, is here in the studio with us right now. Published since 1985, the Windy City Times is Chicago's only gay media outlet, and its reporters have won numerous local and national journalism and community awards since then. Jake, welcome to The Gailey Show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So can we start with Chicago Women in Trades? So Chicago Women in Trades, they are based in Chicago, and they work across the country, however, to increase participation of women in non-traditional occupations that are typically dominated by men. They have filed a lawsuit against Trump. What for?
Yeah, so they are challenging 2 of Trump's executive orders that he filed in January that target DEI initiatives. They label them as illegal, dangerous, and things like that. And what he's really going after is funding for organizations that support DEI initiatives, which unfortunately for Chicago Women in Trades includes them. And about 40% of their annual budget comes from federal programs. So they're really kind of in danger here.
Wow. 40%. Learning about the mission and the work that they're doing, I mean, it seems like, how do they even do their work at all? So how are they processing this right now, and how they're approaching the work and what they can and can't do?
Yeah, I mean, they're still doing the work while they can. Obviously, they filed the lawsuit to see what happens, but what they're really frustrated about is the lack of clarity as to what constitutes as DEI under these orders. They really don't know what kinds of work is allowed or isn't allowed. And that's probably intentional so that they have leeway to pull whatever funding they want, but they're really just concerned about their future.
So I guess I'm worried then. Have organizations stopped partnering with women in trades?
Yeah, they told me that already some groups are starting to back out of partnering with them just out of fear of what's to come with these executive orders and the administration. Will those partners lose their own funding? Things like that.
Wow. Do we know? So what are the next steps? Do we know in the case? I mean, these things take forever.
Yeah.
Do we know where it's at right now?
I think they've just filed the lawsuit. I don't know if a court date is set yet, but like you said, they do take forever. So we'll see what happens. This is part of a trend. Multiple organizations have filed lawsuits against the Trump administration over a variety of his executive orders. So just add it to the queue.
Right. Do we know if there is a restraining order on this executive order related to women in trades?
I don't believe so. Not yet.
All right. Well, we will definitely be staying tuned to your reporting to see where this lawsuit goes, because it definitely affects the queer community as well and the work that they're doing. If I can turn to your reporting on the Lurie Children's Hospital. So we have here in the Twin Cities Children's Minnesota, and we have a number of other healthcare systems who have programs for trans healthcare for children. So we've been watching to see what's happening across other cities and states. And Lurie has been a pioneer in youth gender healthcare, right?
Yeah, they're one of the oldest youth gender clinics in the country. So they really have been a pioneer. They have some really well respected doctors who do this work. So yeah.
And they have paused, quote unquote, their gender affirming surgeries. What does pause mean?
Yeah, they're not doing them for youth under 18. And that includes some things that require anesthesia, like I think certain hormone therapies for youth under a certain age do require anesthesia. So that is paused as well. Um, and they're really just waiting to see what happens. Now, this executive order that does ban the gender affirming surgeries for youth under 19, actually, it's been challenged. A federal judge has blocked it, but Lurie is still continuing to pause their surgeries.
Have they said why, even though there's a block on it?
I think just to see what happens. They're going to keep responding as the situation evolves, but they've been very tight-lipped in my questions to them. So just giving generic statements.
Right. The Illinois Human Rights Act, and I learned this through your reporting, requires healthcare providers offer medical care to all residents and prohibits unlawful discrimination. The executive orders are not law, so how are they squaring this circle?
Yeah, it's really hard to say how they are personally, or specifically that organization, just because it's really hard to get answers from them right at this moment. But there was another hospital, UI Health in Chicago, by UIC, that also for like a day they paused their surgeries. There were some youth who had reported their surgeries were canceled, but there was a big protest at UIC that happened, and then they quickly reversed that.
And so there were protests against both healthcare systems.
Yeah, there were. And there's another one planned March 30th. This is just a rally for trans visibility, but it's by the same group who protested Lurie Children's.
I was going to ask what the local reaction has been. I mean, obviously it can't be good, but I'm glad to see that they are protesting about that. Are they still offering any type of healthcare for trans kids?
Yeah, they are offering other kinds of healthcare. Like I said, anything that doesn't require surgery or anesthesia, they can still do. But yeah. And what I'm hearing, I haven't talked to any medical providers. Again, people are being very tight-lipped, but I've heard from other doctors at other organizations who partner with Lurie, and the doctors themselves are not pleased with this. They're not happy that they're not able to continue this care.
What are they saying to you?
I heard from a doctor in the suburbs who does work with Lurie's gender clinic, and she told me she wanted the community to know and the trans youth to know that the doctors do stand by them. It's just their hands are tied.
Wow. So they are being overruled by the administration of the hospital.
Yes, exactly.
Is it tied to, we've seen folks like in Colorado who are, the claim they're making is that there was one in Colorado and one in San Diego, I believe, that were saying, well, we're going to lose all of our federal funding if we don't comply with this executive order, which again, not laws, but has there been that as well with both of these systems in Chicago, UI and Lurie, where they're just saying, well, we're going to have our funding pulled? Or
that is the fear.
In advance?
Yeah, there is one doctor who spoke with the Sun Times here in Chicago, and what he explained was they're worried about losing their funding, and if they continue this kind of care for youth, they could lose their funding to support everyone with this care. So it's a horrible thing that they have to choose between one or the other, but that's the situation they're in.
Do we know how many, because again, I want to put facts out there as often as I can. Lots of studies saying that there are no surgeries for kids under 12. So just want to put that out there again. That's not happening. That's propaganda from MAGA. And that surgeries for youth age 12 to 19 are typically like top surgeries, chest surgeries, which are actually for trans and cisgender youth. So I guess that was my first question is, do you know if they're still doing chest surgeries for cis kids who are 12 to 19?
That's a great question, and I would love an answer to it. I just haven't been able to get one from the hospital.
They're just stonewalling you all across.
Yeah.
Oh, this is fun. Okay. Well, we will stay tuned to your reporting on that as well. You've been covering the Democratic Party and top leaders recently, including California Governor Newsom and former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, have recently come out pretty strongly against trans rights in one way or another. And I was shocked at Rahm Emanuel said some pretty gross things on the Bill Maher show, which he said, look, in 7th grade, if I had known that I could have said the word they and gotten into the girls' bathroom, I would have done it, which is
Strange.
so gross.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, we shouldn't be focusing on trans rights because the boys are going to be, and I'm like, wait a minute. Instead of like teaching boys not to be gross jerks, we're just going to,
Right.
okay. But what has
And it's ironic, actually. The last bathroom law passed in Chicago was by Rahm Emanuel. So
Is that just a matter of going whichever way the wind blows, or?
It seems like it. He definitely seems to be preparing for a return to politics. He recently served as the ambassador to Japan under the Biden administration. There's questions whether our governor, Governor J.B. Pritzker, will run for president. Maybe Rahm Emanuel wants his seat. Maybe Emanuel wants his own run for presidency. It's really up in the air, but he seems to be returning to the public life.
We like Governor Pritzker. I just have to say how excited I am about him. And I think a lot of people still need to know more about him. And maybe you all don't want to lose him as a governor, and I get that. But I think he's really promising. I'm personally excited about him.
Where's his support right now for the LGBTQ community and trans rights?
He's built some pretty good bridges with the LGBTQ community. He's passed a lot of legislation supporting trans people, making it easier for them to update gender markers. Illinois is in the process right now of legalizing sex work, which would help a lot of trans people in our state. So he's done a lot of things to build bridges with the community.
It feels like Newsom was doing the same thing, and then all of a sudden he's like, surprise.
Yeah.
There's been polling in California about how he's taken a hit, Newsom, in his popularity since his podcast debuted, quote unquote. What has been the response in Illinois to former Mayor Emanuel, to Governor Newsom, and a couple of other Democrats who have decided to just be like, we don't like trans people anymore?
Yeah, I mean, Democrats in Illinois are pretty upset. They think this is not reflective of where the party should go. There seems to be this attitude, as some other Democrats in other states have said after the election, that maybe Democrats lost because of their embrace of trans people, which is debatable, if they have fully embraced trans people even. But yeah, I spoke with State Senator Mike Simmons. He called it, I think, disgraceful. Kelly Cassidy, who's a state rep here, said it's the dumbest thing she can imagine. And Lori Lightfoot, who is our first Black lesbian mayor in Chicago, she's no longer our mayor, but she succeeded Rahm Emanuel. She took a really strong stance against it and said, we need to take names of these people who are saying this and remember that when they try and return to office.
Right.
She was not mincing words.
No, not at all.
Like, I was like, wow. And I mean, I agree. I think that we should be making a list and checking it twice. You were citing some polling in there about, in your reporting about anti-trans messaging and how it's not actually effective and people don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Data for Progress did a poll shortly after the election, and I'm just going to look at my screen. I'm bad at memorizing numbers, but they found that 61% of Democrats and 58% of independents described all the anti-trans ads that Republicans ran during the campaign. They said they were sad and shameful, and even 41% of Republicans agreed with that.
Wow. 41%. Well, I wouldn't have expected it to be that high given what's happening, but I need to fit in a break here, short break. Be sure to stay tuned to us. We've got more with Jake, managing editor for the Windy City Times, Chicago's LGBTQ, only LGBTQ media outlet. Stay tuned, more after this break.
Hi, I'm Philip Anthony, host of the Downright Upright Show, airing right here on AM 950 radio, Saturdays at 5 p.m. Join me as I dive into captivating conversations with people from all walks of life. As a proud member of the LGBTQ community, I celebrate diversity and beyond with unique stories that make us fantabulous. Please join me every Saturday at 5 p.m. or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
I'm Rachel Schroman, owner of Schroman Law, and I believe you deserve information. Our firm offers free quarterly estate planning seminars at our office in St. Paul. At these seminars, you can learn the basics of estate planning from an attorney to help you determine which estate planning documents will meet your needs and goals in an efficient and cost-effective manner. You can learn more and register at our website, schromenlaw.com/events. That's SCHROMEN law.com/events.
Reading can help manage stress and anxiety during these chaotic Trump years. If you're craving something lighter, check out Next Chapter Booksellers' new fiction tables. Explore their collection of Japanese and Korean healing fiction. They're cozy, whimsical stories filled with magical cats, quaint cafes, and more. Or if you're in the mood for something more intense, check out their upsetting shelf, filled with the strangest and most surreal novels you'll find anywhere. So have Next Chapter Booksellers help you keep your sanity over the next 4 years. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I am your host, John Parker, executive producer Jim Pounds with me in studio. It is 21 minutes past the hour. With us is Jake Wittich, managing editor for the Windy City Times, published since 1985. Windy City Times is Chicago's only gay media outlet, and its reporters have won numerous local and national journalism and community awards since then. We also want to give a shout out to WCPT in Chicago, progressive radio affiliate that airs a number of our shows from AM 950 as well. Jake, if we can continue on your reporting on Democratic reaction to some of these Democrats going against trans folks, what is happening on the Hill in Congress? Because there was recently a vote in the Senate this month, right, on trans girls in sports?
Yeah, exactly. So whether or not the whole party is going to shift toward the right on trans issues kind of remains to be seen. But one early indicator is there was a vote in the Senate on a bill that would have banned trans women and trans girls from participating in girls' sports in federally funded schools. And the Democrats were unified in voting against that. So the bill was blocked. So that is one early indicator. Maybe they won't slide to the right on these issues.
I'm curious then, what is your take on the state of Chicago's LGBTQ community since the start of the Trump administration 2.0? Like, how have things been there in Chicago, generally speaking?
Yeah, I mean, it's tense. People are really upset. People are fearful. We have a really vibrant network of trans community organizations here in Chicago, and trans are facing the brunt of these attacks right now. Trans people are. So I've been on the phone with leaders here in Chicago who break down crying because they don't know what to do and they're supposed to be leading their community. And it's really emotional and it's challenging, but I'm also so proud of them for speaking at these protests, for challenging this administration and being vocal in public in a time where it's probably really scary to do so.
Are there folks that you weren't expecting to be good leaders that have stepped up, politically speaking?
Yes, that's a good question.
It's always hard to tell, right? I think we're always on the waiting for the shoe to drop or from someone turning on us.
Yeah,
so
I will say
there are folks that stepping up that were like, hey, yes, they're with us.
I will say it's been heartening to see straight and cisgender lawmakers in Illinois stand up for trans people right now. We have Congressman Mike Quigley, who has long been an ally to our LGBTQ community here. He spoke up at a town hall and said, abandoning trans people is not the way forward. We're not going to succeed that way. Even Dick Durbin spoke on the Senate floor during that hearing, saying that this bill targeting trans girls in sports was dangerous. So it's been heartening to see the heterosexual and cisgender people speak up.
Very important. Did you have a?
Yeah, this is a very weird thing that popped into my mind when you were saying Governor Pritzker's been building bridges, because I think we need a bridge between Minnesota and Illinois. We're the only blue, we represent the whole decent Midwest now, these two states, and we have to go through some awful places to get to you. So John was just in Chicago a few months ago. He was just there for one day. You had to go do something with your passport. And he was just talking about what a great, vibrant place it is. And we both love Chicago. And we think about you a lot, because you're kind of the leader. Yeah, for the rest of us, I think Chicago is.
It's a major city in the Midwest. Yeah.
I know. And that's the one thing about Trump. He cares about the big, he's a top 10 market kind of guy. He doesn't care what happens anywhere else, because of all the attention in the top 10 markets. So Chicago is one that he cares about. Has there been reporting on, or has there been examples of them doing anti-immigration activity in Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, day one of his administration, he threatened the ICE raids. Whether or not they happened was up in the air, because there were leaks that made the people in charge of those raids want to backtrack and do it a little more secretly. But we've been very organized as a city, and making sure people know their rights, so that if an ICE agent approaches them, they don't have to answer their questions. They don't have to let them in their business, their house, or anything like that.
Yeah.
I feel like Chicago and San Francisco seem to be the MAGA boogeymen. You know what I mean? Like they seem kind of obsessed with both.
We ran Trump
like that
in during Trump's first campaign for president. We ran him out of the city. He was going to have a big night at UIC, and the protests were just so insane, he canceled it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that will be one reason why he doesn't like this.
I mean, it's a hard balancing act, because I really believe they're capable of harming people who protest. You know what I mean? I can't believe I'm saying it's dangerous to protest, and I have trouble recommending that people do that, but I don't know what else to do, other than find a way to push back a lot harder than we are, frankly.
There's dangers of protesting, and for the trans people, there's dangers of just being an visible trans leader. I know a lot of the trans leaders here in Chicago have hired security people now, just because that's the climate.
Yep.
Wow. Even in a city like Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure. Has there been an increase? I hope there hasn't, but any sort of increase in violence or threats that somebody can measure, or is it just?
I'm not sure. I do think there's evidence that certain people who hold these hateful views feel emboldened. I'm working on a story right now. There's a school district out in the suburbs where there's a trans student. She's a trans girl, and she's using the girls' locker room. And there's a parent involved with Moms for Liberty who spoke at the school board meeting last week and made a big stink about her daughter having to share a locker room with this trans girl. So, and it's been picked up by Fox News and a bunch of right-wing blogs. So it's unfortunate that this student has to see all that.
This is a strange story. We were contacted by somebody out of a state that I would call the Upper Plains, and trouble with, a trans student that they were going to move to a relative in Minnesota because it's a trans refugee state, and they were going to move the child here and they have moved the child here to go to school, and they were asking for school recommendations, and they're in the process of selling their house in Montana and coming to Minnesota. And are you hearing empirical stories like that of people coming to Illinois for the same sort of sanity that they can't find in other places?
I haven't done reporting on this, but my friend Violet Miller, she's with the Chicago Sun-Times. She just had a story last week about this, about an influx of families with trans people coming to Illinois and other states like us, just to have better protections or a safer environment for them. So,
but that's a good example where, we know a lot of LGBT people have come here, but I had not really stopped and done the math on, well, with a trans child, the whole family eventually comes. Lots of people that are not LGBT at all, but they come here and they have to uproot themselves and change their career and do a whole different thing to support their child, and so do the rest of the siblings. It's quite for some reason that just expanded the idea that there's a lot of people that are here for one person, that are not part of our community, and that we need to welcome them too.
That's so true. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jake, for joining us here on The Gailey Show today.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast.
Yes. Well, we're including a link to all of Jake's reporting on today's show notes and on our website. We're also including a link for you to sign up for Windy City Times newsletter, and you can also follow Jake on Blue Sky. Another break here. The show and Progressive Radio not possible without our advertisers and sponsors. When you shop with them, tell them you heard about them on AM 950.
Thank you.
This is Santita Jackson. Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. Central, we'll bring you the best progressive talkers, thinkers, and doers on AM 950, Minnesota's progressive voice.
Hi, it's Penny from Nightingale, your gathering spot near 26th and Lyndale in South Minneapolis since 2012. Come check out the fun and vibrant atmosphere. Besides our traditional favorites like the Nightingale burger and fries, did you know we also have delicious vegetarian and vegan options? Plus, we have one of the best gluten-free menus in town. And for drinks, our bar staff is always creating fun new cocktails along with a thoughtfully curated wine and beer list. Join us at Nightingale where good times and great flavors come together.
This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, weekdays at 5 p.m. On our show, you'll hear about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. Weekly correspondents like Dr. Stately, State Senator Mary Kunesh, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake update us with the latest news from Turtle Island. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Listen weekdays at 5 p.m. or watch the show on Native Roots Radio social media accounts. Ho-wah!
Hello, everyone. I am Becky McNatten, host of Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. This Sunday, tune in as we process through self-criticality and how this impacts all of us. And if you have a question about self-criticality or other emotional experiences, visit our website at becomingtogethermn.com to find the Feels Out Loud page or email us at contact@becomingtogethermn.com. We may share your question on the show. Join us at 9 a.m. to live and share mental health together.
You may not think of it, but winter is a great time to take care of those exterior home projects. This is Chad, owner of AM 950 for Snap Construction. Most people wait until the warmer months for their exterior home projects, but labor costs are actually lowest in the winter. And that's true for the contractor I trust, Snap Construction. Arguably the most well-reviewed exterior contractor and insulation contractor in the metro. Are you noticing ice dams on your house? Or is your furnace constantly running and you're still not comfortable? In addition to your exterior home projects, winter is also a great time to get your insulation checked with a free energy audit from Snap Construction. The average cost to upgrade your insulation is oftentimes less than a new furnace. Plus, there are rebates available from your energy provider when you upgrade your insulation. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. So don't wait for prices to rise in the warmer months. Get a free estimate now by calling 612-333-SNAP, 612-333-SNAP, or go to snapconstruction.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies today with a high near 51, tonight cloudy with a low around 32, and Wednesday 3 to 6 inches of snow with a high near 38. Craving authentic Szechuan and Mandarin flavors? Visit the Great Wall Restaurant for hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, sesame chicken, and more. Located at 4515 France Avenue South. For takeout, call 952-927-4439 or check out their full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Broadcasting live from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and simulcasting on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@thegailey show. Welcome back to The Gailey Show. It is 33 minutes after the hour. Our call-in number, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205, or you can chat with us on our YouTube live stream. That was great. I love talking to Jake.
I think Chicago is somebody, now that we're all feeling a little isolated and divided from each other, breaking bread and and creating a partnership with somebody in Chicago is a really good idea, because we are the Midwest and we are the part of the Midwest to be proud of. So I thought his insights are going to be really interesting to keep a Midwest perspective on the insanity.
Well, we want to support LGBTQ publications and journalism. So definitely someone to that link that we're putting in the show notes and on our website for today's episode description. It links to all of his stories. So you can go right to the Windy City Times and you can see all of his excellent reporting that he's doing for them.
But were you surprised? I was anyway, about reporting on actual immigration ICE activity in the state. I haven't seen much. You notice there hasn't been much about what they're doing.
Me.
And it makes me think
that
a whole lot is happening and nobody's reporting on it out of fear, or not a lot is happening, which I think could also be true, where it's all, a lot of talk and a lot of baloney.
I'm worried that they're putting it all together and then they're going to spring it on us.
Well,
that's based literally on nothing.
That could be.
But it just worries me. They've literally made advancements on every single thing that was in Project 2025 that we all knew they were lying about. But anyway, here we are. So I'm just curious. There've been certain things of, planes of folks either going to Guantanamo, or, we've had stories of folks that were sent back to Guatemala or Venezuela.
Yeah.
But it does worry me of what they're planning, given that everything else was, they followed through on everything that they were going to do in Project 2025.
I'll put a theory out there if I can. And my theory was he thought he was going to just tell the military to do this. And I think the military told him to sit his fat down and forget it, that they weren't going to do that. So now they're relying on the local police, who are more than happy to abuse, anybody at the drop of a hat. And they don't have the military support. And I think it's a little unsafe to do things on a very large scale, in some of these places like Chicago. I think they would be very, very reluctant to go in there and take on the south side of Chicago. I think it would be dangerous for the police.
To both of our points, though, I mean, Hegseth is vehemently anti-immigration and anti-LGBTQ.
Yes.
But to both of our points, you would have to plan because it is a mass. I mean, for them to say 1 million in the first year undocumented workers that they wanted to arrest and deport, that is a massive operation. They couldn't just do that on a dime. So they're either the leaders are going, no, you can't do this because logistically it would be impossible, or they're trying to find a way of doing it while also somehow simultaneously slashing. What was it? We heard in the news break from AP, 6% of their staff that they want to. Oh, speaking of 6, are we really getting 3 to 6 inches of snow?
I think it's in southern Minnesota. I'm sorry, my partner's a little freaky about snow this late in the year. It's in the southern part of the state, so I don't think we'll be seeing as much of it up here. And now we're in Eden Prairie, which is the southern part of the city, so they'll get some inches of snow here. But up where we're going on Wednesday, no, it won't be too bad.
Well, I mean, obviously we'll have to stay tuned and rely on excellent LGBTQ reporters across the country.
It's really important
to report the truth.
Yeah.
And we want to support those publications and those reporters doing that work. So thank you to Jake and to Windy City Times for having that time with us and all the work that you do.
Yep.
Seriously. So here is some positive news.
Oh, good.
So while other states in the country are just getting rid of sex education altogether, I mean, let alone, including LGBTQ people, just saying no more sex ed, which, how that's going to turn out for folks. New Mexico is bucking the trend.
Good for New Mexico.
So they are currently, they have a bill in their legislature that is comprehensive human sexuality education that is actually pretty good, not just for, comprehensive sex ed, but for the LGBTQ community as well. The Equality New Mexico has said that the bill, Senate Bill 258, would require sex ed curricula to be medically accurate. Nathan Saavedra, their program manager, says that we know that sex ed does save lives and it improves the health of all youth. It decreases bullying and harassment. Sex education is harm reduction from their perspective. And it's not just Equality New Mexico that's on board with this legislation. The state's ACLU organization and the New Mexico Coalition of Sexual Assault Programs, they are also supporting this more comprehensive support approach to sex ed. I saw that I went and looked it up. The bill was introduced. It's already been through committee, and there have been amendments made to it, but the amendments I felt were strengthening it, the bill. So we'll see how this progresses. New Mexico, just for point of reference, this is according to the Public News Service, New Mexico's current standards for sex education surpass many other states. But access to the education has often been dependent on where a student lives. And so the bill would actually provide smaller districts and rural districts with resources so that they can actually implement this legislation. And unfortunately, this is editorial on my part, would still allow parents to exempt their children from the sex ed portion of required health courses. And
well, the right wing believes that a dumb kid is a better kid, and I believe, and I think you do too, that a smart
let's
kid,
rephrase that.
a well-informed kid is a better chance at a decent life.
I would say to rephrase what you're saying, they believe that you choose to be LGBTQ. And so in their mind, if they do not provide the sex education or any exposure to LGBTQ people, that ignorance will prevent them from choosing to become lesbian, bi, trans, queer, etc. So not based in fact, but this whole parents' rights movement is problematic to me on that level, because it says, okay, well, we can we can require this legislation and make this possible, but I could be a queer person, a queer 12-year-old in the closet, a queer 15-year-old in the closet, and my parents could prevent me from getting the education that I need. And so we can pass, what is then the point of passing these laws if you're still going to allow the MAGA folks to say, well, no, kids can't actually participate in that.
I'm quoting a parent, somebody that I went to high school with, who said to me, nobody's going to tell me what to teach my children. And of course I said, that's why we have professional teachers instead of you.
Ideally.
And that should be the case. There should be no homeschooling. That's my position. Homeschooling takes away the standards and the professionalism that we expect from teachers. It's like having the gardener be your doctor in a hospital. That's why we have people that are trained, people that have credentials. And so I'm anti-homeschooling 110%.
Well, okay, I don't know how we got to that.
I just wanted to get
finding a way.
I'd love to find
always get to there.
That's right. I'll bring it up tomorrow too.
But yeah, I know. We have not effectively solved the parents' rights movement because the parents' rights movement only seems to apply for discriminating against LGBTQ students.
Right.
That's all that it seems to be, held under.
Religion as a weapon. Religion as a weapon.
The weaponization, yes, of religion.
Yes.
So I don't think that we have found a great way of squaring that particular circle, but we're going to have to. Otherwise, we're just going to keep replaying the same thing, because it's great to say, again, to repeat the point here, it's great to say that we're offering these courses and this curriculum, but if we're then allowing for folks to keep their students from learning, keep their children from learning it, then what are we doing here?
Well, you're answering your own question by saying we're going to have to say, you know what, the right of the society to have well-informed students and well-informed eventual adults who can form a responsible society instead of people living in the 12th century.
Maybe that's the thing, is that you give parents the rights to enroll their student in a school, and if you don't like the curriculum, then it's going to be taught no matter what, and the parent has to send their child to a school that a Christian school or a military academy or whatever. Maybe that's the solution there, is that you say, if my child is enrolled here, I am signing off on all curriculum. If I don't like any of the curriculum, then I have to send my child to a different school.
Well, eventually these bonobos are going to just want all their kids sitting in their home. I'll teach them 6 things, and there's 750 things they should learn, and they're not going to learn it. And that's irresponsible parenting. You don't get to be an irresponsible parent.
We're going to move on from this. The other topic that I want to talk to is the tolerance paradox. The tolerance paradox, and this is someone who is I am a former chief diversity officer, and the tolerance paradox is, how do you promote tolerance? Because if you promote tolerance, then you have to let in fascists. You have to let in these points of view that you disagree with. You have to let in the KKK. And then by letting folks into that conversation, into this tolerance space, you are now allowing in people who are intolerant, who will then break down the whole system. This is why in diversity, equity, and inclusion, we understood what tolerance was. We were, the field in its proto stages was promoting tolerance X number of decades ago, and then stopped and moved on from that because of this tolerance paradox that was being discovered, which is, okay, tolerance to a point, but once you start letting in people who are intolerant, it breaks down the whole structure that you're trying to create. Now, case in point, recently, just last week, I believe, President J.D. Vance, Mr. Free Speech, who, running around here saying that the free speech is under attack and we don't have free speech anymore in the United States, goes to the Kennedy Center where the entire crowd realizes that he's there because the show was put on late because of him trying to arrive and all of the extra security protocols, et cetera, et cetera. There's video of this on the internet. They start booing him left and right. I mean, if you haven't seen the video, please go and see the video, because it is fantastic to watch him just getting booed into oblivion, and him having that weird, stupid face that he puts on, where he's like, he puts on this mask where he's like trying to show that it doesn't hurt him, but you can see on the inside that he's just totally being hurt.
That's what a Peter principled person looks like. Somebody who knows they're an imposter. They know they don't belong there. They know they've been put there by Peter Thiel's money, and he feels guilty about it because he's not a fool.
And also so Peter is a part of the LGBTQ community.
Yep, I'm sorry to say.
Is the Trump's Treasury Secretary, Besant, who is the highest ranking openly LGBTQ official in the history of the United States. So let that sink in. Because apparently the Treasury Secretary outranks the Transportation Secretary, which is Pete Buttigieg, who served in that role. And Besant went on this tirade saying that this is an example at the Kennedy Center of how intolerant the left is, because they're booing and they don't want the vice president to be at the Kennedy Center. Well, guess what Besant has recently done as the newly installed head of programming at the Kennedy Center? He canceled performances by a gay men's chorus.
Yeah. He's one of the bad ones. I have a list of bad ones in my office.
Is the tolerance paradox at work. Anyhow, we're going to take one last break here, but we still have lots to get to on The Gaily Show. Be sure to follow us on our Blue Sky page, Blue Sky account. We are at thegailyshow.org for ticket giveaways and more progressive news and analysis.
Next time on Philosophy Talk, the life and thought of Judith Jarvis Thompson.
Thompson is best known for arguing that abortion is morally permissible.
To show that, she imagined being hooked up to a violinist who's somehow using your kidneys.
She had all kinds of cool thought experiments, like a drug that makes you think you're Queen Victoria.
Where can I find some of that?
Judith Jarvis Thompson, next time on Philosophy Talk.
Catch Philosophy Talk every Sunday morning at 8 on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. That's Philosophy Talk.
The Electric Fetus is having a pre-inventory store-wide sale now through March 23rd. Take 20% off almost everything in the store, including new and used vinyl, CDs and DVDs, Electric Fetus t-shirts, hats and pint glasses, and tons of other great gift items. The store is open 10 to 6 Tuesdays through Saturdays and 11 to 6 on Sundays. It's closed on Mondays. The Electric Fetus is located just south of downtown Minneapolis at 2000 South 4th Avenue. More info at electricfetus.com. Sale ends Sunday.
Hi, I'm Corey Wisco, president of the Welshire. The Welshire excels as a memory care community in the Twin Cities, located in Bloomington, and we have a new location in Medina. But what makes Welshire so different is the people that we have working for us. Our team has been together for the past 25 years providing this type of care. We employ some of the most amazing nurses and LPNs that are in the building 24 hours a day. We also have an activity team that is over 40 people. And our scheduling begins at 9 o'clock in the morning for activities, and it goes to 7, 8 o'clock at night. And that's 7 days a week. You won't find that. That is why many of the families that come to Welshire are actually coming from another memory care facility. Not all memory care is created equally. And that's why I encourage you, if you've had issues and problems at other places, come see what makes us so special. Please visit thewelshiremn.com and book a tour.
With Donald Trump in office, blue cities like Minneapolis have a real opportunity to show what effective democratic governance looks like. But we need the right leaders. 90% of the time, the DFL-endorsed city council candidate wins in November. That's why the caucus matters. It's your chance to decide what kind of Democrat represents our party. Minneapolis needs leaders focused on safety, affordability, and opportunity, proving blue cities can be a model for Democrats. Yet, only 2% of registered voters participate, and often their views don't reflect the majority of Democrats. But they show up because they know it's the most important way to support their candidate. This year on April 8th, be part of the change you want in your city and party. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. If you care about public safety, city leadership, and the future of Minneapolis, you need to be at the caucuses. Visit WeLoveMPLS.org today to learn how easy it is to caucus. Show up, speak out, take action.
Paid for by We Love Minneapolis. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Welcome back to the Daily Show. I'm your host, John Parker. I'm still thinking about the caucuses. We believe in democracy. We believe in voting here. We talk about it a lot. So if you please participate in your democracy. It is and if you've never been to a caucus, it is it's a treat. It is a version of democracy that we don't actually get a lot of here, or we see a lot of representation. We see voting as the main participation to democracy, and caucuses, if you've never been to one, is a completely different version of democracy in action. So if you haven't done that before, this is a great time, particularly as democracy is under attack. And I'm sort of doing this as a larger, like, regardless of your party moment, I want folks to be participating in democracy, whether that is getting out the vote, call and phone banking, voting itself, participating in caucuses. Like, we need to keep affirming the need for democracy in this country before, MAGA starts to say, well, we just need to get rid of it all together, which I think some of them are ready to do.
Yeah.
Very much ready to do. It is a Tuesday, and we actually have on our podcast, This Queer Book Saved My Life, a new episode that dropped today. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk to you about it, particularly for folks who are in the Twin Cities this week. So our guest is today, Max Yeshaye Brumberg Kraus. And the main question of the episode in the conversation that I had with Max is, how do you get out of a spiral of shame and guilt and try to make the world a better place? And so I was very curious how the book that he wanted to bring to talk about this queer book, and it was The Once and Future King by T.H. White, which I had read, and I was like, wait a minute, how are we going to have this conversation? Because the book itself is not queer per se, because we're talking about, King Arthur myths and Sir Lancelot and the Lady in the Lake and et cetera, Merlin. But the author, T.H. White, was gay. He not really known that much. It was his biographer, Sylvia Townsend Warner,
Right.
who argued in her very definitive biography of him in 1967 that he was gay and apparently sadomasochist as well. But I don't know how she verified that part of the story. But he led a very lonely, solitary life.
Yes.
And the more that you get into his biography, the more that you can see how he was in his writing trying to resolve that. And also just a very poignant story about his biography is that he, in his when he was older, I don't know how old he was in this. I don't know if it was his 50s or 60s, that he had a beloved dog who, when the dog was basically like a partner. And when the dog passed away, it was just devastating for him. And when I see people and their relationships to their pets, or for, pets who own humans, another way of putting that, that I, when I see those relationships, I just immediately, I bond with folks who have such deep relationships with their pets. But T.H. White, kind of a sad story, but the book was really, really interesting to hear Max break down, particularly the book about the ill-formed knight, which is about Sir Lancelot and what he was able to pull out of that as both a child and then also in his adulthood. And Max is an author in their own right. They wrote Theology, Mythopoetics for Queer and Trans Liberation. They're a poet and published Visions of Divine. They are also the founder of House of Lava, which is, let me make sure I'm getting that correctly. Yes, House of Larva. I'm sorry, House of Larva. That's why I wanted to verify that. But they are doing a show at the Squirrel House Arts this weekend, so March 21st and 22nd. The show, it's called A Western in Drag. The title is Incident at Peckerpaw Ridge. And it is a drag satire on the myths of the cowboy, manifest destiny, and traditional American family values. Big quotations around that last part there. And the show features a cast including 3 core members of the House of Larva, including Max. There is a local puppeteer who's going to be in the show, Callie Melvin. And then there is the homoerotic stylings of Scotty Hall. And there will be local guest acts as well that are part of the main plot, is how they describe it on Squirrel House Arts' website, including Shoplifting Kink, Oliver Fist, Merritt Thursday, and Jacques Paw. So they say that the story is funny, even though there's some dark parts to it, but that it is riotously queer art. So we recommend that you check out the episode today with Max. You can stream it everywhere that you get your podcasts or at thesquarebook.com. But also check out House of Peckerpaw Ridge, brought to you by House of Larva at the Squirrel House Arts. The house opens at 7 p.m. The show starts at 7:30, and tickets are on a sliding scale, so they are $5 to $30, and no one will be turned away for lack of funds.
Can we also mention, I believe it's Saturday, that Triassic Park at MMT opens, which is another talk about taking something we know, and this was taking a Western and turning it on its ear.
Yeah.
This is taking the dinosaur story and turning it on its ear.
So it's Jurassic Park told from the viewpoint of the dinosaurs. And part of the film was about how dinosaurs can change their gender, and that's how they were able to mate, and they found eggs reproduce on the island, even though supposedly all the dinosaurs were female. And so apparently this is the show where the dinosaurs start changing gender and the reaction to that. And we had one of the stars on the show last Friday, talking about it, as well as the artistic director of Minneapolis Musical Theater, Andrew Newman.
And we're going on Sunday to see the show at Lush.
Max Kyle plays the Velociraptor of Innocence, is the name of the character. So yes, it's at Lush Lounge and Theater in Northeast Minneapolis.
So I think we all deserve a little, doing something that will make us laugh a little bit, right?
Yes.
Or take a breath.
We should. All right, everyone. That is our show for today. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned. The Matt McNeil Show is up next. After that, Native Roots Radio will be on, and we will see you back here at 2 p.m. tomorrow. In the meantime, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.